At the time, Adonai said to me, "Cut yourself 2 stone tablets, like the first ones. Come up to me on the mountain, and make yourself an ark of wood. I will inscribe on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke, and you are to put them in the ark." So I made an ark of acacia wood and cut 2 stone tablets like the first, then climbed the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. He inscribed the tablets with the same inscription as before, the 10 words which Adonai proclaimed to you from the fire on the mountain the day of the assembly. And Adonai gave them to me. I turned, came down from the mountain, and put the tablets in the ark I had made, and there they remain. Adonai ordered me. The people of Israel traveled from the wells of Beni Yaakan to Masarah, where Aaron died and was buried, and Eleazar, his son, took his place, serving in the office of Kohen. From there they traveled to Gudgod, and from Gudgod to Yotvata, the region running streams. At that time, Adonai set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark of the covenant of Adonai, and to stand before Adonai to serve him and to bless in his name, as they still do today. This is why Levi has no share or inheritance with his brothers. Adonai is his inheritance, as Adonai your God had said to him. I stayed on the mountain 40 days and nights as previously, and Adonai listened to me that time too. Adonai would not destroy you. Then Adonai said to me, "Get up and go on your way at the head of the people, so that they can enter and take possession of the land I swore to their ancestors that I would give them." So now, Israel, all that Adonai your God asks for from you is to fear Adonai your God, follow all his ways, love him, and serve Adonai your God with all your heart and all your being, to obey for your own good the mitzvot and regulations of Adonai, which I am giving you today. See, the sky, the heaven beyond the sky, the earth and everything in it all belong to Adonai your God. Only Adonai took enough pleasure in your ancestors to love them and choose their descendants after them, yourselves, above all people, as he still does today. Therefore circumcise the foreskin of your heart and don't be stiff-necked any longer. For Adonai your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, the great, mighty, and awesome God, who has no favorites and accepts no bribes. He secures justice for the orphan and the widow. He loves the foreigner, giving him food and clothing. Therefore, you are to love the foreigner, since you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. You are to fear Adonai your God, serve him, cling to him, and swear by his name. He is your praise. He is your God, who has done this great thing and awesome things, which you have seen with your own eyes. Your ancestors went down into Egypt with only 70 people, but now Adonai your God has made your numbers as many as the stars in the sky. Therefore you are to love Adonai your God and always obey his commission, regulations, rulings, and mitzvot. Today it is you I am addressing, not your children, who have not known or experienced the discipline of Adonai your God, his greatness, his strong hand, his outstretched arm, his signs and his actions which he did in Egypt to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to his entire community. They didn't experience what he did to Egypt's army, horses, and chariots, how Adonai overwhelmed them with the water of the Sea of Suf as they were pursuing you, so that they remain destroyed to this day. They didn't experience what he kept doing for you in the desert until you are arrived to this place, or what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the descendants of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, along with their households, tents, and everything in their company, there in front of all Israel. But you have seen with your own eyes all these great deeds of Adonai. Therefore, you are to keep every mitzvot I am giving you today, so that you will be strong enough to go in and take possession of the land you are crossing over to conquer, and so that you will live long in the land Adonai swore to give your ancestors and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land you are entering in to take possession of isn't like the land of Egypt. There you would sow your seed and had to use your feet to operate irrigation system, as in a vegetable garden. But the land you are crossing over to take possession of is a land of hills and valleys, which soaks up the water when it rains from the sky. It is a land Adonai your God cares for. The eyes of Adonai your God are always on it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So if you listen carefully to my mitzvah, which I am giving you today, to love Adonai your God and serve him with all your heart and all your being, then, says Adonai, I will give your land its rain and in the right seasons, including the early fall rains and the late spring rains, so that you can gather in your wheat new wine and olive oil. And I will give your fields grass for your livestock, with the result that you will eat and be satisfied. But be careful, do not let yourself be seduced, so that you turn aside, serving other gods and worshiping them. If you do, the anger of Adonai will blaze up against you. He will shut up the sky so that there will be no rain. The ground will not yield its produce, and you will quickly pass away from the good land Adonai is giving you. Therefore, you are to store up these words of mine in your heart and in all your being. Tie them on the hand as a sign. Put them on the front of a headband around your forehead. Teach them carefully to your children, talking about them when you sit at home and when we are traveling on the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates, so that you and your children will live long in the land of Adonai swore to your ancestors that he would give them, for as long as the sky above the earth. For if you take care to obey all the mitzvot I am giving you, to do them, to love Adonai your God, to follow all his ways, and to cling to him, then Adonai will expel all these nations ahead of you, and you will dispossess nations bigger and stronger than you are. Wherever the sole of your foot steps will be yours. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the river, the Euphrates River, to the western sea. No one will be able to withstand you. Adonai your God will place the fear and dread of you on all the land you step on, as he told you. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you listen to the mitzvot of Adonai your God that I am giving you today, and the curse, if you don't listen to the mitzvot of Adonai your God, but turn aside from the way I am ordering you today and follow other gods that you have not known. When Adonai your God brings you to the land that you are entering in order to take possession of it, you are to put the blessing of Mount Gerizim, the curse of Mount Evel, both the west of the Jordan in the direction of the sunset, in the land of Canaani, living in the Arava, across from Gilgal, near the pistachio trees of Mori. For you are to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land of Adonai your God is giving you. You are to own it and live in it. You are to take care to follow all the laws and rulings that I'm setting before you today. Here are the laws and rulings you are to observe and obey in the land of Adonai, the God of your ancestors, has given you to possess as a land as long as you live on earth. You must destroy all the places where the nations you are dispossessing serve their gods, whether on high mountains, on hills, or under some leafy tree. Break down their altars, smash their standing stone to pieces, burn up their sacred poles completely, and cut down the carved image of their gods. Exterminate their name from that place. But you are not to treat Adonai your God this way. Rather, you are to come to the place where Adonai your God has put his name. He will choose it from all the tribes, and you will seek out that place, which is where he will live, and go there. and will bring there your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tents, that is to set aside before Adonai, the offerings that you give, the offerings that you have vowed, your voluntary offerings, your firstborn of your cattle and sheep. There you will eat at the presence of Adonai your God, and you will rejoice over everything he has set out to do, you and your household, in which Adonai your God has blessed you. You will not do things the way we do here today, where everyone does whatever in his opinion seems right, because you haven't arrived in the rest of the inheritance which Adonai your God is giving you. When you cross the Jordan and live in the land Adonai your God is having you inherit, and he gives you rest from all your surrounding enemies, so that you are living in safety, then you will bring all that I'm ordering you to place Adonai your God chooses to have his name live, your burnt offerings, sacrifices, tents, and your offering from your hand, and all the best possessions that you have dedicate to Adonai. And you will rejoice in the presence of Adonai your God, you, your sons, your daughters, your male and female slaves, and the Levi staying with you, inasmuch as he has no share inheritance with you. Be careful not to offer your burnt offerings just anywhere you see, but do it in the place Adonai will choose in one of your tribal territories. There is where you are to offer your burnt offerings and do everything I ordered you to do. However, you may eat meat wherever you live, whenever you want, in keeping with the decree to which Adonai your God has blessed you. The unclean and the clean you may eat, as if it were a gazelle or deer. Don't eat the blood. Pour it out on the ground like water. You are not to eat in your own property. You are not to eat on your own property the tenth of your grain, new wine, olive oil, that you set aside for Adonai, or the firstborn of your cattle or sheep, or any offering you have vowed, or your voluntary offering, or your offering from your hand. No, you are to eat these in the presence of Adonai your God, in the place Adonai your God will choose. You and your sons, daughters, male and female slaves, and the Levi who is your guest. And you are to rejoice before Adonai your God everything you undertake to do. As long as you are living in your property, take care not to abandon the Levi. When Adonai your God expands your territory, he has promised you, and you say, I want to eat meat, simply because you want to eat meat, then you may eat meat, as much as you want. If the place which Adonai your God chooses to place his name is too far away from you, then you are not to slaughter animals from your cattle or sheep, which Adonai has given you, and eat on your own property as much as you want. Eat it as you would a gazelle or deer. The unclean and the clean alike may eat. Do not take and eat its blood, for the blood is the life. You are not to eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it, but pour it on the ground like water. Do not eat it, so that things will go well with you and your children after you, as you do what Adonai sees as right. Only the things set aside for God you are to have, and the vows you are vowed to make, you must take and go to the place which Adonai will choose. There you will offer your burnt offerings, the meat and blood, on the altar of Adonai your God. The blood of your sacrifices to be poured on the altar of Adonai your God, and you will eat the meat. Obey and pay attention to everything I am ordering you to do, so that the things will go well with you and with your descendants after you forever, as you do what Adonai sees as good and right. When Adonai your God has cut off ahead of you the nations you are entering in order to dispossess, and when you have dispossessed them and are living in their land, be careful. After they have been destroyed ahead of you, do not be trapped into following them, so that you inquire after their gods and ask, how did these nations serve their gods? I want to do the same. You must not do this to Adonai your God, for they have done their gods all the abominations that Adonai hates. They even burn up their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods.